Hey guys, so I've been doing a lot of videos on camera about Scooby-Doo lately, and something really got my attention. Out of curiosity, I watched some reviews on the previous last two Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies, that being Happy Halloween and The Sword and Scoop. And what I like about these two, not just the fact that I can go to Boomerang and watch them at any time I want, or even buy them digitally through Movies Anywhere and get them physically down the line through places like Amazon. But what I like about this, from the reviews that Toon Grin and a few others have given us, even Stun Club Soda, what I like about it is you kind of see the characters develop a little bit, or not just develop, but you kind of see the writers trying to, put the characters with characteristics and personalities that would match up with them. As well as along the lines, finally kind of have some characters, even though they kind of revert back a little bit, still leave the door open to maybe accept the belief of things that are beyond science and natural explanation. And what I mean by that is when you look at, Velma in the first two movies of 2020, or 2019, I should say, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Scooby's, of Scooby's beginning, basically with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Velma is very skeptical about a lot of the things that happened. True, she wasn't there, as a lot of people would point out, she wasn't there for 13 Ghosts. But she was there for the Zombie Island situation, but yet she plays it off as that, just like with 13 Ghosts, was not really real, even though she experienced it herself. But then we get to Happy Halloween. And here, she's still trying to be, know-it-all. She's trying to basically find scientific explanations as to why certain things are not supernatural. Like there's some kind of reasonable scientific, smoke and mirrors explanation to it. And when she gets to a point to where it seems that even her reasoning is not working, she finally, I guess, breaks down a little bit and admits that yes, the reason she comes out and tries to logic away all this supernaturalness, or things that even are beyond her train of logic, is because basically she doesn't know how to explain, I guess, what the supernatural is. Like, even if she was to accept it, fully, how is she going to explain to someone down the line that she encountered this? She needs an explanation. She basically needs a reasoning for it being around, for this situation happening. And the one thing about 13 Ghosts that I talked about in the past, and others talked about, as well as what obviously returned to Zombie Island, well, maybe not so much, but now mostly with Happy Halloween, and then we kind of see it later on with Sword and the Scoob. The one thing that, I can at least give them credit for, especially the people they brought on to write the stories, is at least having Velma, like I said, open the door, or keep the door slightly open, if not fully open, to potentially accept that there is more to what's going on than just, techno-babble, scientific, smoke and mirrors, answers, or solutions, if you know what I mean. But another thing that's interesting, though, is this is going to be weird, because a lot of people pointed out that the reason she's starting to act this way, whether it's by the people writing it or not, is because it seems they're trying to make her kind of like on a less annoying, more balanced out level of, what you see in Be Cool Scooby-Doo, and kind of what you see in Mystery Incorporated and What's New Scooby-Doo and all that. And that would be Daphne. And it seems that Daphne is a little bit more quirky, silly, if you will, than usual. And And this is noticeable in the third and last movie of this 50th anniversary trilogy, as people call it, which is Happy Halloween. It's very noticeable with her fangirling of Elvira, her, saying, certain, slangs and all that. It's like, okay, it's like you look at this, you're like, why is Daphne acting like this now? Why is she doing this? And then you start thinking to yourself, maybe there's an explanation, and I think I know what and I think I kind of have an idea what that explanation could be. I think what that explanation could be is they want someone that, well, is kind of a female equivalent almost to a Shaggy. Not entirely, but almost. She's almost that way, and I think the reason for that is real simple. Believe it or not, you could trace this all the way back to Legend of the Phantasaur. Legend of the Phantasaur is one of the movies that takes place in the Mystery Incorporated universe. When that was around, or a little afterwards. It takes place in that timeline, in that continuity. And as I said before, talking about, the Curse of the 13 Ghosts recently, this continuity is basically a combination of what's new Scooby-Doo continuity and Mystery Incorporated continuity. It's basically a hybrid of both continuities merged into one. And it seems that this Daphne here, started out the way she was, but is slowly changing into a character that, fans can actually see being the female equivalent of Shaggy without the love of food, if you will. Without food, like being a weakness, even though Mystery Incorporated kind of showed otherwise. At times. But you kind of get what I'm saying. And it's really weird that all of a sudden she goes from being this badass leader in the Curse of the 13 Ghosts and still kind of maintaining that in Return to Zombie Island. And all of a sudden here we are at Happy Halloween, and even the movie afterwards, Sword in the Scoob. And it's like she's changing, and yet we don't know why. And again, Happy Halloween and Sword in the Scoob are written by an entirely different creative team. And maybe they see potential in combining a lot of the best personality quirks and elements of Daphne into something that is the perfect combination. But is that true or not? We don't know. We don't really know. But when you think about it, I think this, honestly, after we get through this Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover movie, which again I feel is not going to be my cup of tea and it's not going to be as good, as some people might hope it will be. What I see potentially happening is we're going to get another story arc. It's going to be a sub-story arc, but it's going to be a story arc that deals with why Daphne is changing. Now, will we see that change in the Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes I take these crossovers with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I look at them as being, their own continuity, like the one-offs, if you will. And that's how I look at this one. But I feel that after this movie, we might get more of a background, more of a story arc, sub-story arc on what's going on with Daphne, because you can't tell me in character, in story, in continuity, that someone like Velma and then potentially Fred, who just goes along with it, is going to question why is Daphne gone from being this, badass like leader she was, when they went to the Himalayas in the Curse of the 13 Ghosts, to now all of a sudden she's acting as silly and goofy, almost like Shaggy and Scooby. It's like, what's going on here? So I would not be surprised. If maybe in the next several movies to come, because more will be coming, that might be something they explore. that might be something they might explore. And I think honestly, this is all leading to something. I really do. And I think what it's leading towards, in my opinion, as I drink some Sierra Mist, but what I think it's leading towards, inevitably, is a moment that a lot of us, in my opinion, my own personal opinion, a lot of us kind of knew was coming. And that's the revelation that Daphne might end up with Shaggy. That they're going to question why this is happening, and even Shaggy will question it, even though he's going to be like, hey, I like this side of Daphne. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't see any real problem with it. I've got a feeling what's going to happen is we're going to get a story that's going to trace back into the histories of both the Blakes and the Rogers, and it's going to show that long ago, distant ancestors of the both of them fell in love with each other, and that caused something to where destiny, when the time is right, will lead a Blake and a Roger to back to each other once again. And now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but as a story, but I would not be surprised if they consider doing it. Because again, you have Daphne suddenly acting a little differently than what she did in the previous two films before Happy Halloween and The Sword and the Scoob. And it makes you wonder, okay, what's going on here? Why is she suddenly acting like this? Because even in story and continuity, the character, you can't tell me Velma and potentially Fred in a way are wondering this too. So I'm not going to be surprised if this leads to something. If this little sub-arc of Daphne's personality change and everything is going to lead to something, that something might be involving Shaggy and both of them potentially being together because it's potential destiny or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I noticed, I just seem to notice that, and I'm thinking there's got to be a logical explanation, and I think that's going to be the explanation, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be. So yeah, overall, I think, when I look at, the finale, the third and final movie, the trilogy, and then Sword of the Scoob, I got to give the writer team, the creative team that came on board for those movies a lot of credit. They're giving us things, they're giving us stuff that, is opening the door for potential story arcs and movies down the line. For Velma, it's opening for her, it's developing her character to where she's still going to act the way she is. She's still going to try to find explanation for certain things, but now she's becoming more open to the possibility that some things are beyond even her logic, and that she'll keep that door open, and that, those possibilities, as an answer, she'll keep that, on her shoulder, if you will, in the back of her mind as a backup just in case she's proven wrong. So I like that character development. I like it. I really do. So, so I like that. And I like the fact that even though some people don't notice it, I think something is happening with Daphne. And I think it's all going to trace back, believe it or not, to the Curse of the 13 Ghosts and all that. I've got a feeling. Something's going to come up. We're going to probably see the return of Vincent Van Gogh, voiced by Maurice LaMarche, and maybe even Bill Nye, and they're going to come up and potentially bring in a new character as well and trace the fact that, hey, this is why it's happening, and, this is why she's acting this way, and why Shaggy and Scooby are cool with it, and, here's the historical explanation. So that's what I see happening. But that's what I see happening is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, though, that's all I'm going to really say on, in this little. That's all I'm going to really say with this late night Scooby-Doo discussion. Early Saturday mornings, late night Scooby-Doo discussion. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. What do you feel about some of the things I say? Do you think I have a point and some of these things potentially coming to the forefront in the future. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below as well as on live chat during the premiere, and I'm out.